So go ahead and give me your name.
George.
And can you tell me where you're from?
California.
California, born and raised?
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Okay. Can you tell me about your family and your family and about your growing up, your upbringing?
Yeah, I would say that I was fortunate to have a really good upbringing. It wasn't perfect. My parents actually divorced at when I was at a young age, by I think it was 5, um, like 4 or 5, and but I had a stepdad who took really good care of all of us. We had a good family, so. Um, my father lived in San Jose, and my mom lived in Modesto, and so we would travel back and forth. So I would say I'd have a pretty good childhood and adolescence. Even up until high school, I was pretty pretty good kid. That was a major thing. Um,
You saying DUIs or drinking or
The drinking, yeah, it kind of just brought me. I think it brought my spirit down and made me feel pretty bad. Um, so, so from yeah, so that's why I was humiliating.
yeah?
I could go from there though,
Yeah,
as far as
go
how I
ahead.
got to where I was.
I was going to ask you, do you mind explaining it? Because you did say you have been clean of fentanyl and heroin for 3 years, and
Yeah, yeah.
congrats on that.
Thank you,
Once again,
thank
well,
you.
I'm gonna put it the first time if I did, but congrats. But if you don't mind speaking on how you got there from the drinking to the marijuana drugs.
Yeah. Okay. So, I I think okay. So it was a bunch of factors that kind of all came into play. I Shortly after my DUI, I couldn't drive. Right. I I got into this altercation in Las Vegas where a fight broke out, and I was drunk, on the scene. Um, and while the fight was broken out, like I'm waiting for a friend, and I'm just talking trash, and somebody actually punched me and break my jaw, and broke it 2 places, and I was passed out. And so, um, yeah, and so you know, I came home with a broken jaw, right? And the doctors gave me a bunch of pain meds. They gave me liquid Vicodin, Norco. They gave me what's it called? Vicodin, Norco. Yeah, yeah. Oxycodone.
They get a little bit of everything essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all this stuff, right? And at the time, I needed it, man. There
yeah.
was never so much
Pain.
pain I ever had in my life. Um, Having my mouth shut for 2 months, letting my jaw heal. So there was that, okay, and then from there I kind of developed like an addiction to taking Vicodin. Instead of taking just one, I'd take like 2 or 3. So then that kind of, you know, that was another thing, right? I started smoking a lot of weed back then, because I didn't start smoking weed until I was like 21, you know. And I wouldn't say I was smoking. Oh, well, no, I was smoking weed, and drinking. Um, just mixing the two, and with like the Vicodin. So those three,
That's like
um,
a
yeah, it was like those three. Even though it wasn't heroin, it was like heroin. And so then, I um, Jesus, what happened was, okay, so shortly after I break my jaw, I come home, I heal up, I hook up with a girlfriend that I really had strong feelings for. I've known her for like 10 years, but kind of get on and off back together. Um, she ends up getting pregnant, and so um, I want to do the right thing, and be a good dad and be supportive and all that stuff. Um, I was actually really excited um, to be a dad, and I thought things were going really well. I, we were both vegan, but we both didn't drink. You know, we maybe smoked a little bit of herb together here and there, but we were like golden. We were
Clean lifestyle. Yeah.
really good. Yeah, but she was an alcoholic. Who just was done with her. She went through the 12 steps. I was like, I don't have a problem with drinking. You know, even after my 2 DUIs, like, it's like I don't have a problem drinking like you do. I just got caught up. That's what I would, my attitude at that time. And so, um, we make promise to be good to each other. Um, and, even though we're trying to make it, I still wasn't making the best choices financially. I was, not making a lot of money. I didn't go to school. So like I was working retail jobs and, there was a lot of pressure. And, so I came up with this idea that if we move to Arizona together, that we can afford, an apartment. And the lifestyle out there is cheaper.
Price of living. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheaper out there. All this stuff. I don't know, but anyways, it didn't work out. And long story short, she started drinking again. We started drinking again together, and that led to the downfall of our relationship in Arizona. And our son was 6 months old at the time, and I was really scared for him because his mom was out of control. She was like back and forth disappearing. She was fighting with her sister. She went to jail one time for just thrashing her sister's house. And I didn't know really what she was doing, but one time she took off, and when she took off, she dropped our son off with me, and I was, I think it was like I didn't really have a place to stay, so I was in this like apartment complex with just like a mattress. It was like a really desperate situation. And, I thought the best thing to do was to come back to California where we had family and stuff.
Definitely.
And I thought that she would come back with us, but she decided to stay. And so I was like, they're stuck with our son in California for a short time. And so finally she comes from Arizona, and she gets him and she takes him back. And, there was a point of me having to let go of being in his life every day, and that was really hard for me to do until she actually like left with him. And when she left with him, a part of me basically died. My whole ego, call it your ego, everything I thought that I was, what I should be, my direction. Because now he was moving to Arizona, he was going to have a new dad and a stepdad or whatever, and I wouldn't be able to see him. I couldn't afford to see him. I couldn't afford to drive out to Arizona, 2 days drive. You can't take a plane to where they live. You have to take a plane and then drive. So,
Kind of secluded area somewhere.
huh?
I was saying kind of a secluded area somewhere.
Yeah, up in the mountains. Okay, and it's like, at that point, I was happy that he was with his mom and that he had a stable home. But I was really sad that I wouldn't be able to see him or be his dad.
Yeah.
I just lost, I completely, I don't know, I didn't know how to react to that. So I spiraled down really fast. Just before he left, though, I had started a commercial cleaning business, and that gave me a lot of freedom, too much freedom, because I had a little bit of money. I was able to drive wherever I wanted to. no supervision. Um, but I didn't really take advantage of that freedom until after my son left. After my son left, it was a downward spiral. Um, and so, during this time, on Craigslist, there was this casual encounter section, and
I remember that.
yeah, no, it was nasty. I mean, when I say nasty, it was like a dating site, but it was like there was no rules whatsoever, and you know what it was. And so, anyways, um, I had this addictive personality, and so my escape back then was to, find a party on in the casual encounter section, and what that meant was, sex and drugs, and so that became kind of an obsession and an escape during that time when, after my son had left, and I kind of just lost purpose. So I had cleaning accounts in all throughout the Bay Area, from San Francisco to Santa Cruz up to King City. So my business was
Doing pretty well.
pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but when I wasn't, you know, had my head in the business, my I was it was my escape, and then I would run off to my escape, which was what it was, and so it became old fast, because the first thing that I started um, to abuse was, I don't know if I well I don't know if I should say the drugs, but I guess we're talking about drugs. So like crystal meth was like the drug that kind of got me hooked into this really bad lifestyle. And so I didn't care about anything except for my business, and getting a little bit of that drug for the day. Or it wasn't like something I did every day. Actually, it was like something I would do like once a week, or a couple times a week,
Casually, essentially.
yeah, at first. And then um, so then I did too much of it. Yeah, things were getting worse. I was getting in over my head. I had too many accounts, not enough people to clean them, and I was staying up too many days. I was having some hallucinations. I was seeing things. Um, so then I went to a party, and um, I was already super high, and then they asked me if I wanted to shoot the drug, and so I shot the drug.
And
And
that's
what's that?
meth, correct? Or
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. And so, like, that was like one of those moments where I was like, oh shoot, did I die? Did I die? Did I die then? Like, what happened to me? It was really a crazy, scary experience. And for the next few days, I was like, just kind of, I don't really remember, but
I'm sorry, not to cut you off. That's a pretty big jump. I feel like, to go from you were essentially smoking it, essentially, correct?
yeah,
And then to shooting it.
yeah, it was a pretty big jump. I was really depressed, and like I said, I was um, kind of lost purpose. It's like I just didn't. I was really kind of like centered into what was happening that was really upsetting me, and I was trying to run away from it, I guess. But yeah, it was a big jump. But like I said, I was already really high when I did that. Like, I was high for days, and I was smoking it way more often than I was. I wasn't eating, and I was just around really bad influence. Bad influence. I never carried around a needle with me or nothing. I went to a bad area, a place where people did that regularly, and it was nothing to them to just help me do it for myself. And so, um, I think that really changed things for my perspective. It's like you know, I don't know what happened, but I woke up one day, um, and I started to just see the world differently. Um, Good or bad, it was something. You know, you see something, you can't unsee it. It's like when um, that's just how my reality is now. I see the world differently than I used to when I was younger, and so uh, so it got to the point where um, I was using that drug to the point where I got bored of it, and it didn't affect me the same way. And instead, I started to kind of more focus on myself, like and more spiritual aspects of myself, because I started feeling really terrible and scared. I was seeing a lot of hallucinations. There was one day I woke up and everything was um, like I would see this eye, you know, everywhere I looked there was this eye. It was like an all-seeing eye or whatever you want to call it, but it was like following me everywhere I went, and it was making me feel, you know, absolutely crazy. And I just became more sensitive and aware during that time to what was happening around me, and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And so I was really scared, super scared. Okay, um, I felt dark presence, you know, entities, you know, either following me or watching me. Um, and so I one day I drove out of San Francisco and I went to Santa Cruz. It felt a lot nicer in Santa Cruz. And I actually went to there's a river, it's called Rio Del Mar, and it goes into the ocean. And I kind of, in a way, kind of baptized myself. I just went there and I just asked, you know, for forgiveness, and I just asked for guidance. And I know it's not like how people do it in a church or whatever, but for me, it was a significant moment and it changed things. You know, I came out of that water and I felt immediately better, and I felt guidance um, from that point on. Nonetheless, like I still had this demon of addiction with me, and uh, and so I kind of had to balance. I had to find, you know, balance. So sorry, a little distracted. But so by the way, that whole no, it's okay. Just to kind of connect my story back to the Tenderloin, like that's where it happened in San Francisco, like where I found that group of people that helped me shoot up, you know, that was always providing drugs, free drugs, you know. That was the Tenderloin. That was Mission Street. That was Eddy Street. That was um, what's it called? You know, that place is out of this world. So, where am I? So, in the Tenderloin, that's where like the first half of my addiction story ends. But basically, like I was living in my van. So, like I said, I had this company, right? But everything just kind of crashed down. I just became overwhelmed. I basically gave up the keys to the business, and I said, you know, I got to focus on myself. I have this addiction, and I'm losing my mind. I don't know what's going on. Uh, and I handed the keys over, and I drove, you know, in my van, which I was living in at that point, to San Francisco. I felt like there was answers there between San Francisco and Santa Cruz, and many nights I would just be sleeping in my car. I would find food out there in the streets, people left behind. Um, I was completely hopeless, you know. And um, so, anyways, so I had left. I'd left. Um, it was just like I said. I went to Santa Cruz, and I basically that was a change. That was a changing point for me. That's why I kind of like went back to that. Um, but anyways,
What you said went back to that. What do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
oh, because for me, like there was a lot of I was really scared, and I had a lot of fear, and I was acting out of fear and confusion, and um, there was a point where a lot of that went away, like almost immediately, and
Yes,
um,
yes.
and and it's when I went to Santa Cruz. It's when I asked for guidance. It's I in a way turn to Christ, to my higher self, um, and uh, after that, things were different for me. I wasn't scared. I actually wasn't being you know affected by those things in the same way. So, anyways, now uh, I basically had given up all hope on being able to get myself out of that situation. And during that time, my aunt kept asking me, "Hey, do you need help? Do you need help?" And I said, "Yes, come help me." And she came and she picked me up. Her and my uncle came and picked me up from the Tenderloin. I was on the corner of Mission and 6th Street. And I had been there for a few days. Now, I had met this girl who was pregnant and she was addicted to heroin. I hadn't been on heroin at that point. Um, and I just felt like bad. I kind of judged her, like, how could you be doing drugs if you're pregnant, type of thing. And anyways, I gave her my van. I gave her and her boyfriend my van. And that day, my aunt came and picked me up. So my aunt and uncle got me sober off of the crystal, and that involved my uncle taking me to AA and A meetings 3 times a day, and for 3 months he did that for me, um, and so I guess it kind of just that kind of got old, I guess you could say. Um, I oh, so actually I should back up. At this point, um, I had already been diagnosed with some things. So uh, going back a little bit to when I was in the Tenderloin, um, I was like I said, I shot up, going to a lot of parties, a lot of bad behavior, not caring, totally spiritually disconnected. But anyways, I got a diagnosis of hepatitis C, right? And so I found that out because I got into a really bad car accident where I almost died. My car was totaled. I had to go to the hospital, and they said, "Hey, you have hepatitis C."